16 years later, they come face to face once again. The forest, so dark, so dreary, as the stiff air surrounded the boy. Which boy? The boy with the notorious lightning-shaped scar. The boy with a scrawny body covered in tattered clothes. The boy with a face hidden behind his rounded glasses. The boy who lived. He anxiously walked into the forbidden forest. Time slowed as his greatest enemy, the Dark Lord, awaited him. There they stood face to face, wands in hand, ready to duel. The Dark Lord, standing amongst the weeping willows, his slithering pet Nagini at his side. The Dark Lord's face was shriveled and his nose was snake-like. "Voldemort," the terrified boy exclaimed, as he approached the infamous villain. It was a familiar name known by all the wizarding world, but only uttered by a few. Voldemort. Devious and unforgiving, the Dark Lord pointed his wand at the boy's face. The boy braced himself, wand at ready to fight back. Staring at each other, seeing who would make the first move, Voldemort shouted in confidence, wand extended out, towards the terrified boy, "Harry Potter, the boy who lived, come to die." The whispering and chattering filled the dining hall air. New students scattered in. Amazed by the stunning decorations, they took their seats, and then the festive dinner was interrupted by a distinguished face, one that was aged with wisdom and experience. The headmaster glided to the front of the dining hall and stepped up to the podium. Covered in gray robes, his long white hair cascading down to his waist, the leader of Hogwarts, the greatest wizard of time, there was Dumbledore. In front of him were 4 long tables buried in delicious foods, and the familiar faces of students. The roars of laughter and conversations faded as the headmaster rose from his table. "Ahem," wise speaking Dumbledore cleared his throat. "Students, I would like to welcome you all back, and I look forward to another marvelous year at Hogwarts. At this time, I would like to begin the evening by recognizing a very special student. Over the summer, this student worked with the Ministry of Magic to perform a very dangerous task. As some of you may know, rumors of the Dark Lord's rise are true. This summer, you-know-who allied with the werewolves and was in hiding. The Ministry of Magic and this student attempted an ambush on you-know-who. However, he managed to escape and only the werewolves were destroyed. Though the Dark Lord remains out there, he is certainly weaker and has less allies, so we will have time to strengthen our defenses. Now, to congratulate this student's extraordinary courage and bravery, I'd like to call Harry Potter to the front." All eyes swerved to Harry, wide-eyed and red-faced. "Go on, Harry," Hermione ushered. "Yeah, Harry, and do not forget to mention how I destroyed that werewolf all by myself without a wand," simple-minded Ron exaggerated. The green-eyed seeker made his way to the front. He stood next to the Speaker of Wisdom. "Mr. Potter, on behalf of the Hogwarts student body, I'd like to applaud your achievement this past summer. Is there anyone that helped you with this troubling journey?" Harry briefly gazed in the direction where his 2 best friends, Ronald Weasley and Hermione Granger, were sitting. Ron and Hermione looked at each other simultaneously, and they smiled, knowing that in a moment they would be standing on that stage next to Harry. "No, Headmaster, I helped the Ministry by myself." "Very well, thank you for your bravery, and 30 points shall be rewarded to Gryffindor." Harry returned to his seat, and wise-speaking Dumbledore continued his speech. Ron and Hermione met later that night. Simple-minded Ron furiously threw his wand at the ground. "I can't take it, Hermione. He gets so much attention just because he's the boy who lived." "I know. He takes all the credit and we look like cowards," Hermione added. "That's the last straw. I've had it," Ron cried. The two bid each other goodnight and returned to their rooms. The sky was clear, the sun shined bright. The air was warm and the grass cool. In Hermione's meadow, she plucked daisies as she lay daydreaming. In the distance, leaves crackled as someone walked across the forest floor. Hermione sat up. Suddenly alert, she scrambled up as a figure emerged. She squinted as she tried to make out whose face it was. Horror crossed her face as she realized who it was. She quickly pulled out her wand. Voldemort walked into the clearing. Draped in cloaks, he appeared to be floating. He sneered at Hermione's look of disgust and panic. She stood completely still as he approached her. "Don't worry, child," he whispered. "What are you doing here?" she replied. "I've come to see you." Hermione stopped breathing as he uttered the words that changed her life forever. "Hermione, I am your father." Months passed and the time had come. Voldemort was strong, and Harry knew that it was only a matter of time that Voldemort would strike against Hogwarts. He knew that Voldemort wanted him to finish him off once and for all. With the sun high in the sky, the air felt empty, incomplete. It foreshadowed what was and was to come. The Dark Lord entered into the clearing. There was already a presence in the graceful meadow. Someone was watching, waiting, wondering. He didn't expect to see the Dark Lord so soon, not with the wizard's daughter or the red-haired boy. None of it made sense. Why were they here? What did they want? And how was the Dark Lord involved? You can make this easy or hard. I'd prefer easy. But maybe it's time to finally release my anger. After all, you are so vulnerable, the wizard's daughter shouted, her voice echoing across the clearing. Overtaken by this sight, Harry was awestruck. What could he do, and what would he do? I'll take you on in final duel. It was his war to win. He had defeated the Dark Lord once, so who said he couldn't do it again? This time, things were different, though. The wizard's daughter and the red-haired boy, they were on the opposite side. But why? Spells started affecting him. He had to fight back. Doing his best, he blocked most, either reflecting them back or sending them to oblivion. It was already a lost cause. Not only was noble Harry outnumbered, but he was also outpowered. This was his match. He had finally met his match. Who knew it would involve his best friends teaming up with the enemy? Their power was too strong. It had caused the world to spin around in his head. Harry didn't know what was happening. It was all too new, losing. Finally, the world had gone full cycle, and he was no longer on top. His powers had been defeated, and he had lost. Delivering a simultaneous final blow, Harry was gone, laid lifeless on the floor, nothing left to hold on to. He had lived a good and full life, but his time had come, and now he was no more. Sabotaged by his greatest enemy and best friends, Harry drifted off into the afterlife. His spirit would now live eternal life, even if his body was no more. The sun set sad on that day. A look of sadness graced not only his face, but even those who had overpowered him. Killing your best friend was hard to do, and yet she had still gone through with it. Slowly the world became bright again. She heard voices coming from above. Hermione was confused by all the chaos surrounding her. She replayed all that had happened in her head. It was too crazy to be real, right? She decided that it must have been just a dream. She was shocked when she opened her eyes and saw Voldemort hovering over her. He had a strange expression on his snake-like face. Could it have been concern? Could he even be capable of that emotion? Hermione closed her eyes. She rolled over in an attempt to escape his unnerving stare. It was all just a dream, she thought to herself. But as she opened her eyes again, staring into a pair of lifeless green eyes, she realized it wasn't.